The anger that Brent Key has burning in his soul about how last season ended should tell you exactly how many games he wants to win in 2026.
You are Locked On Georgia Tech, your daily podcast on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to Locked On Georgia Tech. I'm your host, Jarvis Davis, and joining me today, I got my main man, Najeh Wilkins, who is the beat writer for Georgia Tech on Sports Illustrated. And I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we're driven by the details. Highlights make the real, but the work behind them makes it count. Stay tuned for this week's Moving the Game Forward. The all-new Mazda CX-5, more to move every side of you. Coming up on today's show, Victor Valdez will enter the transfer portal, and I got a good feeling that Cross has probably already made that phone call. And the white and gold game will tell us if Tech is ready to be contenders in the ACC. But first, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets have a lot of things going against them in 2026. Brent Key has had to replace both coordinators, a program-changing quarterback in the Haynes King, and we had a lot of guys who hit that portal for whatever reason, like there's some guys that went to Florida, they're trying to do their thing down there, trying to see what's going on in Gainesville. But, hey, that's today's college football world that we live in. And I think Najeh, like I talked about this on the previous pod, FanDuel had dropped the odds for games won on FanDuel, and they set the over-under at 6.5 games. To me, that seems a little bit low. So, I'm all about raising the standard. We were just having a conversation off air about raising the standard for yourself. And I pose this question to you because I think that Brent Key needs to be able to make another jump this year. Win 7 games in your first full season as a head coach, 7 games in your second season, 9 games in your third season. Now you're going to your fourth season. The only way is up, right? So 10 games on the horizon?
I would, but this is such a tough schedule, man. It's hard for me to say 10. 10 wins? They play 11 Power 4 opponents.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I believe in Coach Key. So I'm going to put respect on their name. 6.5 is too low. Let's go 8.5, 9. I'm going to put mine right around 9.
Okay.
I think that would be pretty good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Then you win 9 games. Let's see what you do against Georgia. Georgia could be that 10th win. Let's say you upset Georgia. They won 8 consecutive games against you. That could be the calling card right there that you win. The reason I say 9, Jarvis, like you said, you want to make that jump, but you got Tennessee, Colorado on the schedule, Virginia Tech, who will be a lot better now with their new head coach, James Franklin. Right? You're still going to have Duke in there. I know Duke's not going to be as good. Still going to be a very formidable opponent. You still got to play Clemson. Clemson's a pretty good team. Okay? Say what you want. Oh, well, Dabo has lost his touch. Okay. Keep watching with Clemson. Louisville. That's another team that's always pretty good in the ACC. 8 wins last year. You know what I'm saying? They should be pretty good this upcoming year. And obviously, like I said before, you end with Georgia. And you still got Wake Forest on the schedule as well. There are games in there that definitely they're going to win. To say 10, it's a lot. It's a lot. 11 Power 4 points. Now, we're talking about last year's schedule.
Okay. All right.
This year, let's see. Like you said, they're replacing a lot. Program alternate quarterback, consensus All-American in Keelan Rutledge, All ACC Player of the Year, Haynes King, losing 2 coordinators, multiple assistant coaches, no Corey Peoples, no Eubanks, no obviously Blake Gideon, no Buster Faulkner, no Aaron Philo.
I mean, some can make an argument that Blake Gideon needed to go, right? We can make an argument for that, right?
I mean, you can make the argument. Yeah, it's his first year on the job, though.
I mean, yeah, true.
First year on the job. So, yeah, you can make the argument. Sure. You want to say that? Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's a lot. Now, they bring back, the good thing is, to your point, why let's make the case why Jarvis they can win 10 games. Yeah. They do bring back some continuity defensively.
Well, let me say this though before you go there. So let me say this: as far as with the, having to replace, a lot of people, right? Having to replace the coordinators and all that stuff, having to replace the quarterback. Man, most of the teams in ACC are going to have to replace the quarterback. Team that you mentioned, 2 teams that you mentioned, Duke, Darian Mensah, who is an excellent football player. He's going to be playing on Sundays. So I put
Clemson.
I put this roster up against Dukes and see what happens. Yeah, you talk about Stanford. Stanford's going to be the first ACC opponent. You're going on the road. That's going to be you're on the road. I say that, but I think that's a win for sure. But when you bring up Clemson now, I'll count Dabo out. K. Klubnik is out the door, and he wasn't all that great either. He was a little bit middish, when you're talking about how he plays football, right? Like he shrunk in a lot of games when he was supposed to be the guy. He was supposed to be a Heisman candidate coming into this season. And you know who ended up being one? Who was the top 10? The dude that just walked out of that door. So I think that when you have the reasoning behind being able to have to replace so many people, I think that's just the world we live in right now. Everybody gonna have to replace everybody because these cats bouncing around everywhere, like even the good quarterbacks. And most of the time back in the day, you had guys that had a really good season. Oh, you can automatically pin them guys in there as a starter for the upcoming year. Nowadays, you can't do that. So you got Clemson. Who has to figure out who their quarterback's going to get? They just had that spring game, and they had several guys listed, right, as the guys who got playing time. So, and there was really no lead guy like that. So, yeah, I think that it comes down to coaching at the end of the day, and being able to coach those guys up, being able to identify talent. Alberto Mendoza has to come through for them. Yes, absolutely. But if he doesn't, then then we're definitely gonna be having a conversation. So, but I think the whole reason behind or saying that people have to be replaced, like everybody got to replace everybody because it's just that's the world, especially from a roster standpoint.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Everybody do got to replace everybody.
Yeah,
it's a new look team. I know Coach Key talked about impressors, like looking for the size. They want to be more dominant, obviously, is key things. Mm-hmm. I just think, look at the new look receiver room. There's just more to me, Jarv. There's more question marks.
Sure.
Going into this season, maybe compared to last year, you knew what you had. You knew what you was getting at the wide receiver room. You knew what you was getting at the running back room, which you obviously know that this year as well. But there wasn't a lot of question on the offensive line. What was the one big question last year? Right tackle.
Yeah,
they nailed that with Malachi Carney. That was the biggest question. Who's going to be the left or right guard? What I'm saying? We're still trying to figure that part out, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just think there's a couple more question marks. I think Georgia Tech can win games. That's what I'm trying to put spread on the name. That's why I said 8.5 to 9.
Yeah.
10 is a playoff team. When we talk about 10 wins, 10 wins is playoffs. This is means
I'm with you.
You win the ACC championship, likely. Yeah. You win Charlotte battling for that. That's a big step. With all flaws,
it's a huge step. I'm with you, and I think that I think they're right at 9. Like my expectations for them is 9. So maybe say that's kind of high, but my expectation for this team is to win 9 games, and I think that give or take, you talked about the team up 3-16, they can get a win down, down there in Athens. Hey, we'll have to see. I will have to be a little bit further along into the regular season before I make that call. But I think that when you're in a space where I think defense coordinator is going to be an upgrade, automatic. I think Jason Seymour, based off what I've seen, I think Jason Seymour is going to be an upgrade over Blake Gideon. So, and when you have when you're ushering in a new quarterback, you got to have some stability on the defensive side of the football to kind of help that offense usher in, because there's a possibility that they might get off to a slow start. And if they do, you want to have a defense that can give you those extra possessions. That's why I feel like it's a perfect match. Like George Gossett coming into Georgia Tech, calling plays, coming back, alum, all that stuff, double alumni, all that stuff, right? And if they aren't putting points on the board or they're struggling, if you got a defense that's going to give you 1 or 2 extra possessions a game, potentially, yeah, that's going to help you. That's going to help you, especially when you get off to the start. So I think that 9 games is that's my expectation for them in 9 games. And I think the ball have to bounce their way, so to speak, throughout the season in order for them to get their 10 wins. But yeah, it is high. You talking about 10 wins, man? Like
Playoffs.
Yeah, you're making a case for the playoffs.
Yes.
And I think that if you ask Brent Key, if you gave Brent Key some true serum, he's like, yeah, man, sure, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to get to those 10 games because, like, man, that man has consistently talked about how, hey, man, I don't like how the season ended last year.
Yes.
So how many times have we heard that? So I think he's saying that for a reason. I think he wants to make that jump. He wants to win 10 games. He wants to be a contender in this conference because if you're in the contender in this conference, you know exactly where you're going in the postseason. So, but coming up next, speaking of contender, we'll discuss who needs to have a good showing in the white and gold game to solidify Tech as a contender in the ACC. This is Moving the Game Forward by Mazda. For those who know the score, never tells the whole story. Man, my guy this week is Von Lackey. That man has been playing absolutely out of sight, out of mind for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. He has pushed these guys to the number 3 team in the entire country. I'm going to be looking for Georgia Tech in the College Baseball World Series. Let's go. Yeah, my expectations up. I'm up, baby. I believe. And it's all because of Von Lackey. And there's more to these players than the highlights. The early mornings, the late night runs, consistently showing up for their squad on and off the field. The all-new Mazda CX-5 moves the same exact way. With more space to connect, a bold new design, and more intuitive technology, so you can stay connected to the road. In every position you play, the all-new Mazda CX-5, more to move every side of you. Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. I've got my number 1 pick for the 5-hour energy draft. It is grape. Yes, y'all know what time it is. That Concord grape flavor, similar to grape juice or candy. Yeah, that little candy you used to buy from the candy lady back in the day. Yeah, that grape. That's what I'm talking about right there. Soft, round, sweetness, smooth, almost syrup-like fruit profile. Just consistent, baby. Just straightforward taste. That's what I'm talking about. It's absolutely amazing. And another flavor that I'm trying to get my hands on and get my mouth on, pause, strawberry banana. Tropical delight with strawberry, a taste that goes in everything from smoothies and milkshakes to cakes and ice cream. It is absolutely amazing. I can't wait to taste that one. And 5-hour energy shots, also, they're so great and flavorful and tasty, but they give you absolutely zero sugar. Zero sugar. So find your new favorite flavor of 5-hour energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Get your first month of the Everyday Club for free when you use code MARCH. You'll unlock ad-free episodes and entry into our private listener group chat on Discord where, I pop in from time to time and we can kind of go back and forth and argue about whether or not Brent Key can win 10 games this year. We can get at it. I don't mind right now. I got my main man, Najeh Wilkins, right here, getting it in with me. And as Tech gets ready to start spring practice back up this week, I started thinking about the white and gold game and I was just a few weeks away, Najeh, and started to get excited because a lot of people talk about the spring game like, oh, man, they ain't doing anything. It's just a glorified practice. Yeah, it is glorified practice. Yes, absolutely. But, there are a lot of things that you can kind of look at and take away from this game that I feel is going to be really important into assessing whether or not Tech can be a contender in this conference. And Najeh, man, for me, I don't know about you, I look at this offensive line. Because you talked about Malachi Carney, been seeing him get some work, at a different position at guard, may slide my guard. Because I talked about going into spring sessions. I said that, man, hey, he'll be a good fit to move down to that guard because you had two gaping holes, especially with Keelan Rutledge. That man projected to go in the second round right now. High. He's going to be high, dog. So, of course, there's a big gaping hole at the right guard spot. And I think that Carney has the makeup or the body type to be able to slide into that spot. So that's looking like it's going to be taken care of. Joseph Ionata, the transfer from Alabama, he's been working at center. That's his position. And I think that he's kind of getting settled in there. But, and it's still up in there with the left guard spot. And then, Ethan McKinney isn't practicing at all. So kind of, seeing what you have at that position potentially be as a backup going forward behind those guys. But I think, man, when you look at this team and look at this white and gold game, like who is a person, or it could be a group that you feel needs to have a good showing in order to say, or give you a little bit more confidence, because you talked about how you have a little doubt because they have to play so much. Who needs to be that guy where we're saying like, oh, such and such had a really good game in the white and gold game this weekend?
I'm gonna go with what you said, offensive line. I'm gonna start there. I'm gonna go Jamison Riggs, right? Remember, this is 2 years in the making. The reason I say his name is because he's been talked about a lot. This is expected the year he's supposed to take that step forward, right? And he said in previous years, yeah, I came in, I wasn't ready, right? I feel more prepared now. I'm paraphrasing. This is your time to shine, right? Like you just said, there's positions up for grabs. Let's say you own one of those positions, establish yourself as the guy, not necessarily the guy as Keelan Rutledge is, but the guy in terms of, okay, yeah, we can depend on him in this offensive line. We can lean on big number 70, and we know that he's going to get his job done every single time. So I would say, for me, number uno, Jamison Riggs, right? Number two, quarterback. Why don't you go offensive line? Look, your quarterback can be throwing dots back there. If the offensive line can't protect, then what are we talking about?
Yeah, but what are we really talking about? Yeah,
You gotta go
you can't run the football. What are we really talking about?
What are we talking about?
Yeah,
Alberto Mendoza, right? Now, he don't need to throw for no 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. We just need to see him run the offense. First team against first team. Can you move the ball against that defense? Can you get the ball to the weapons and the receivers? Again, he's a quarterback. He's played a little bit. We want to see him. It's going to be a lot of eyes on him. We seen his brother Fernando came in, and you see how that went off like wildfire. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody's tweeting about it, blah, blah, blah. We need to see Alberto have a good spring game. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to throw it back to you after this, Jarvis. Defensive line. That has been the biggest issue on defense. Say what you want. No, do secondary linebackers. They look too good. I know you've been kind of iffy on the linebackers, Jarvis. I know.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go D line because they can make the linebackers' job easier. If you got guys like Tawfiq Thomas, Noah Carter, Christian Garrett, Andre Fuller Jr.
I'm high on him, bro. I'm super high on Christian Garrett right now. Yep, super high.
Those guys can pan out. I only mentioned a couple. It's way more. I'm saying Vincent Carroll Jackson. If those guys can pan out, then your linebackers ain't thinking. They're going. They're filling the gaps. They're filling the
downhill.
They're going downhill. They're not thinking. Then it makes it easier. So we need to see the D line, 1, create more pressure, and 2, we gotta solve the run defense problem. They ranked in the 90s last year. It is a huge issue.
It's terrible.
You can be facing some teams that run the ball now, Jarvis. Colorado, Tennessee. Duke's gonna run that ball with Nate Shepard. He's coming back. That true freshman played pretty good last year. Clemson's gonna run that football. Georgia's darn sure gonna run that football.
Yes.
No, that's why I say D line. So for me, Jamison Riggs, Mendoza, and that D line.
Man, I'm so glad you brought up the defensive line, because I think we have 2 trains on the train track getting ready to collide when we talk about this offensive line, this defensive line. Yeah, it's been bubbling. Got a chance to see some one-on-ones. Keaton gave us a little access, and I think that when you have these new guys coming in like Tawfiq, I feel like Tawfiq can be a leader in this group. I feel like he's shown it already, and you got a young pup in Christian Speakman who has shown some signs of, hey, I need to get some snaps too, coach. I feel like I'm ready to roll. And when you combine those guys having to solidify themselves and especially at that defensive tackle spot, because I feel like that bad boy is starting to round into shape, but it's still some snaps out there to be had right now. And you combine that with that interior offensive line that's trying to figure out who's who, especially at the left guard and center and right guard, the guard to guard. Nothing's really solidified, I don't feel, So and then you have these guys coming together, having to prove themselves, and they're going to have to prove themselves against their teammates, right? And I feel like, man, we're going to get a really good idea about both of those groups in this spring game because, man, you can just see how those guys are going out there and competing in practice, and they're going to have to – they've been having to hold some of them guys back because – them guys been getting after it, man. So I think, if the guys you named, Jameson Riggs, and I said the whole offensive line, all of them, every last one of them, they need to really solidify themselves because not only protect Alberto Mendoza, but, man, the foundation of your offense is going to be running football. So if you can't figure out a way, no offense to anybody that I just talked about on the defensive line, if you can't figure out a way to get those guys blocked up in the run game to get justice going, man, it's going to be a long season, Jack. It's going to be a long season, and I don't think you want to be in a space where you can't run the football and you have to sit there and throw the ball 30 to 35 times to win the game. Yeah, I don't think that's a recipe for success for this offense.
No. So, Jarvis, put you in the hot seat.
Oh.
You said an offensive line, or you said a position group. I got to put you in the hot seat, Jarvis. I need a player. I need you to tell me a player that needs to step up. Give me one.
Ooh, one name.
Give me one name. Put you in the hot seat.
On the offensive line or just all the time?
Nah, just in general. Any part of the team. Whatever you want to go. You want to go offensive line? Cool. Give me one player you're like, I need you to step up in the spring game.
Man, I need to see something from Kyle Efford, man.
Ooh.
I need to see something.
Okay.
Show me something. Because when Seymour was here the first time around, Efford was pretty productive. So I need to see how good of a coach Seymour is. Like I said, I've been liking what I've been seeing so far. I feel like the DBs, the back end of this defense has been breaking on the football. They've gotten a couple of interceptions, and those guys been really making it a point to try to take the ball away. I just want to see what type of effect he's going to have on this linebacker group. And I feel like it starts and ends with Kyle Efford. And so, yeah, if Kyle Efford can be a guy to play downhill, like you mentioned, get some TFLs, be able to, when they send pressure, be able to touch the quarterback, because you ain't going to be able to put him on the ground or anything that out there in the spring game, but you just go and tap him real quick. Like, hey, yep, that's a sack. Y'all can throw the football, but that's a sack. So, yeah, that's what I need to see from a guy like Kyle, man, because this is going to be interesting, man. I am getting super excited about what's at stake here, because I think it's going to be a battle in the trenches, and whoever wins, I feel, is going to solidify themselves as being one of those units you can count on and maybe get yourself to 10 games at the end of the season. All right, coming up next, when you think about Victor Valdez announcing that he will enter the transfer portal when it opens up, you got to think that, hey, man, like the homie's numbers are already saved in there. Scott Cross, that is, his former head coach. Yeah, it might be his current head coach. We'll discuss. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market, ma'am or sir. You can buy or sell positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moment that matters. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game. I don't know how much I know about the game. You might not agree with how much I know the game, but I know about the game. But but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by the people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. This episode is also brought to you by Supply House. You wouldn't show up on game day without a plan, and you wouldn't show up to a job without the right parts. You better show up to my house with the right parts. That's why putting Supply House in your starting lineup is always the right call. Here are the stats: 300,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products, 500 tried and true brands, and 90% of the country is in the 1 to 2 day delivery zone. Need a last minute coupling, compressor, press tool? They are super clutch. And if you're a pro in the trades, you can join the MVP of awards programs and become a trade master. Pros get exclusive members only pricing, priority shipping, industry leading customer service. That's what I'm all about. Gotta have that. It's all absolutely free. So visit supplyhouse.com/TM to learn more about becoming a trade master. Use promo code SH5College for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Promo code SH5College for 5% off your first order. Supply House, real people, real service. Don't forget that you can take Locked On Georgia Tech on the road with you wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download the podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. We got my main man, Najeh Wilkins, with me, who joins me every single week. So, yeah, you leave us that 5-star review. Say, man, you love Najeh on the show. Oh, Jarvis, man, I rock with Jarvis on the show, man. They help spread the word about all this good content we're putting out here for you. I don't like to use content. I'm going to use another word. Some of this good Georgia Tech stuff that we got going over for you. And it's because of you, we're now the #1 sports podcast network. Scott Cross has been in the driver's seat as a head coach of this team for about a week now. And I know Cross is working on who he wants to keep on this current roster. But now there's a young man who goes by the name of Victor Valdez, who announced that he will enter the transfer portal. The portal doesn't open up until April 7th, and it will remain open until April 21st. So you got about a 15-day period where you can get after it. Scott Cross is going to earn his check for that couple weeks. That's for sure. And when you look at who is Victor Valdez, for some of the people who don't know, he was a leading scorer. He was a leading assist man for Troy. And he's a 6'7" junior. And he averaged about 15 points a game, 4 rebounds, and 4.5 assists for the Trojans this year as they made a run to the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row with Scott Cross at the helm. Now, Najeh, where do you fall on whether or not Victor Valdez will be he'll be putting on a Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets uniform for the 2026-27 season?
I think it's definitely a strong possibility. When you see things like this, you see usually a coach goes to a certain school, maybe a player he used to coach, they'll hit the portal. Pretty clear cut, usually what's about to happen. So, like you said, I think there's been a phone call, conversation, however you want to put it. I think it is pretty clear cut. We'll probably end up seeing him at Georgia Tech. Now, like you said, he brings 14, 4, and 4. The little bit of the concern is the shooting, 24% from 3. That is an area Georgia Tech has struggled with. He did shoot it better against Nebraska. We went 4 for 6 in that tourney game. I'm saying, for them from beyond the arc. But 3 of his last 4 games, he didn't have a 3-point basket made. So, again, it's not all about shooting. He's a 4 at 6'7". He has nice height, good width to him, but only shot 40% from the field as well, Jarvis. So that is a little bit lower in, a little bit higher, trekking towards maybe the 50s. So he was an all-conference forward, but that part does kind of concern me a little bit. What development can we see for him? He's a junior and be entering into his senior season. So can we see him take that next step? And to your point, Jarvis, this is a different level of competition. I know what people say, well, Nas, ACC, 8 teams went to the NCAA tournament. A lot of them got out. I mean, Duke, obviously, we know they just lost. Crazy buzzer beat, a crazy moment. But we know ACC is a good conference.
Sure.
So every single night, you got to be ready, right? that jump ain't always the easiest, man. You know what I'm saying? So I would say it would be a fairly decent pickup. You know him. You're probably not gonna have to spend a lot of money. You know his work ethic. You'll spend some, of course, but it's not going to be, oh, I have to pay $5 million, $4 million, $3 million for this player. No way in hell. So
No.
it would be a good pickup if it happens. But I think it'll be interesting to see how he figures out the rest of this roster, because I don't know how much he's keeping. I've heard some things. I don't know how much he's going to keep on his roster. He has said in his presser that he has made some guys priority. We will see.
No, he said a couple of guys. He said a couple of guys.
Couple guys.
That's only 2 last time I checked. Yeah, unless he got a different numbering system. Right.
Maybe 3.
Woo. So and I think that, to your point about him being a good pickup, I think there's a high level chance that he, Victor Valdez comes over. But I got my eye on someone else on that roster. Give me Thomas Dowd. He was the second leading scorer on his team. He shot 33% from the field. When you talking about, and he's 1 inch tall, he's about 6'8", 225. And when you look at what, Dowd brings to the table, he's a much better rebounder than Valdez. And I think that when you combine that with a better shooting percentage from 3 behind the arc, because those guys aren't going to be able to play in the paint like they did in the Sun Belt, because it just don't work like that. When you talk about transferring from the Sun Belt Conference to the ACC, and if you're between 6'7" and 6'8", and you only shoot 24% from 3, you might struggle. You might struggle a little bit. You might need to be running it in that second unit. If you're running that second unit, you might be able to get away with that. But nah. Like, if you coming over here to be a starter, I would look at a guy like Thomas Dowd, because he's definitely much more efficient from behind the 3-point line. And I think that field goal percentage is up as well. He shot 44% from the field last year. So yeah, I'm more so interested in if Dowd, and from what I've heard, that was a name that was thrown around as to who may follow cross over to the flats. But yeah, man, I'm with you. That 3-point percentage definitely concerns me, and I think that, if I got my pick of the 2, you saying I have to pick one of them, I'm definitely going with a guy like Thomas Dowd.
And like I said, I respect that choice. I mean, like I said, you need somebody that's going to be efficient from 3, efficient from the field, and can rebound the basketball. It's important, because then that helps you push out in transition. This is a team that wants to run. That was spoken about in the press conference.
Yep.
We're going to need those rebounds, So Valdez is probably likely going to end up at Tech. But like you said, if you had to take the 2, I want the more efficient scorer, somebody that can get clean the glass for me, do everything I need. But again, no disrespect to Valdez. He was an all-conference player.
Right.
But, you like you said, you construct the roster. It's a big year. It ain't got to be, oh, man, they got to make the tournament, or they got to do this, and this. We know the first year is always kind of experimental. But you just want to see your team making the right strides.
You see some signs, though. You see some signs in that first season, Najeh.
Yeah, no. That's what I was going to say. You need to see some strides. You need to see something happen, and that makes you excited as a fan. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how he builds out this roster. And like I said, almost less than a week until it opens.
Yeah, man. It's going to be some crazy times, and, we're going to have you covered right here on Lock the Georgia Tech. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, and hit that bell too, because, I might pop up soon as those transfer portal signings come through. So make sure you stay in touch with me. You also can follow me follow Najeh at Najeh Wilk on all platforms, and follow me on all platforms at Jarvis D90. If you never missed an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On Georgia Tech ad-free, plus members only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnGeorgiaTech.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shea and my main man, Andy Pattons, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single